Grail's too risky? I mean, I wouldn't say that it was risky there. Like, it got us our good boy. We wouldn't have gotten the good boy without it. If we take the round table, we're hoping to, like, make a full pivot. It sounds like the round table is better than the Grail. Like, we already have one win the game treasure, and Grail gets us the win the game comp for the win the game treasure. Okay. You want to get on a call, Redrame? Can do these level 3 treasures. Or level 5 treasures. Let's see. Start call. Share screen. Hey, how you doing?
Doing alright.
Okay, should be able to see the screen. Right?
Yep. I can see the screen.
So we got level 5 treasures. Now these are really weird. There are some of these that are solid endgame treasures that like you're happy to just end the game with, and there's others that you really want at a specific window in the game between like levels 4 and like early level 6, and it fall off drastically once you start scaling into the level 6 comps. So these are going to be really weird to rate. Just because something that's strong at one point in the game isn't necessarily going to be even relevant at a later point in the game.
A lot of them are weird for sure.
Yeah. So Ambrosia. This is what
already a weird one.
Yeah, this is. There are times where this is completely irrelevant early on, just because like upgrades on your level 3 and level 4 units aren't that exciting. But as you get into like, I guess level 6s mainly, and you get like upgraded Bearsteins, you get upgraded Pumpkins, you get upgraded Lordies even. Like Ambrosia's probably the best level 5 for Dwarves overall. Just being able to pivot your Lordies into upgraded Lordie plus Lordie into your Echo Wood when you get that. You're always going to have something on your board that's unupgraded that Ambrosia's able to get you some extra value out of.
So where would you put it off of that description?
Man. I'm looking at the rest of these to try to get a footing for everything. I want to put it in like B or A.
Okay, so I have the complete opposite impression of Ambrosia. I think Ambrosia falls off, like, incredibly hard.
It does.
Like, you need real treasure slots by the time you're in an end game. It's really awkward to use with anything other than Lordie and Pumpkin. In Dwarves, it's a good treasure. But, like, I honestly think it's C tier. I feel like there are so many times this thing does, like, it's just kind of underwhelming. And, like, when it's good, it feels like a crutch. Like, that you eventually have to get out of, and it's always really awkward to get out of. Like, the moment you triple your Ambrosia target, you're, like, just kind of, like, mod checking your board.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely not great with Bearstein, because you do need your other, like, Singing Swords, you need your plus 100 sword just to make your tokens feel more relevant. So the question's just, is it being good at making your transitions easier, like staying alive on the early level 6 turns, and being just good in Pumpkin and Dwarves enough to...
Well, is it good in Pumpkin? I mean, Pumpkin wants to croc. Like, if you're stuck on Ambrosia, it can be really bad if your Pumpkin gets
Pumpkin wants to croc, but there's plenty of games that you end up just being fine with Ambrosia Pumpkin, right? Like, this ends the game quick, too. Like, all of a sudden, in your early level 6 turns, you're chonking people for 20 plus damage because your Pumpkin dies.
Can, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really unsold on Ambrosia. Like, it's definitely, like, it's definitely not, like, a never pick or anything like that. But, like, there are so many boards where it just feels unusable.
Yeah, it's good with very specific things. It's good with Godmother, too. I guess that's part of why I like it, too. And I go for Godmother boards a lot.
I can see that. Funnily enough, it's good with Arthur.
Yeah.
Which is not something I use very often.
Actually, let me take a look at the units real quick and just see exactly how many things I want to play this with. It's pretty alright with Oni King, though how often you want to be an Oni King is up for debate. It's nice with Heartwood Elder.
Yeah, Heartwood Elder's kind of cute.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those that's good to get on 5, and then once you're level 6, you're a lot less excited to pick it. just because there's other stuff you'd rather be doing. You'd rather have real treasures in that slot than something that just gives you an upgrade. I'm gonna put it in B, and it's probably like top of B. We might end up moving this around a little bit as we get through more of these, but I think starting Ambrosia off at B is totally fine.
Ambrosia's just weird because it's like it's there when you need it, and usually 5s are pretty accessible thanks to Nan.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, and you do sometimes need it.
Next up, there's Dracula Saber. Here's another really weird one. When an enemy character dies, give your characters +2/+1 for this brawl. I like Dracula Saber in general.
I kind of like it too. I like it more than Ambrosia.
It's just very different. There's a lot of comps where you want your boost to kick in immediately. Like if you're in some kind of like Doom Breathy pumpkin comp, you really want your attack boosts on the board at the start of the brawl, rather than something that you gain over time.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it does a lot of stats.
With evil comps being as strong as they are, Dracula Saber can be so good.
It's so good against evil comps, yeah.
And it's like...
It invalidates opposing Mittens.
There are fights where it doesn't really,
But then there's times...
it doesn't really matter so much.
Yeah, then there's times you go against like an opposing dwarf board, and nothing dies because you have a Dracula Saber and not enough attack.
Yeah, I mean, like in beat stick matches where everything just has 1,000,000 attack and 1,000,000 health, a Drac Saber isn't really gonna do much. But I think in terms of like stat treasures you can pick up on 5, this is the second best one.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty good.
I think I agree. Well, there's only like 3 stat treasures, right? I guess there's 4.
There's kind of 4. There's maybe 5, depending on how you count them. You could count 6 if you were being really generous.
I wouldn't count Summoning Portal.
Generates stats.
Yeah. I don't think Drac Saber is like a tier better than Ambrosia, but I sort of agree with it being better.
I would put it in B, and I would put Ambrosia probably in C, but like I agree with it being better than Ambrosia.
I think they're close. I think I take them both a similar amount of the time, and the games where Ambrosia's good, Ambrosia's so nice to have. Like, Ambrosia's the reason a lot of my, like, dwarf not pivots end up working out. I just, like, have an Ambrosia, pick up a Lordy, and all of a sudden I'm stable. Where a lot of the time, otherwise, the first Lordy isn't enough.
No.
Next up, we've got Exploding Mittens. When one of your characters dies, deal 1 damage to all enemy characters.
This will be a fun one to rate. Alright, Trina, what's your take on it?
I fucking hate this treasure. There's some comps that really want to have it. It's really nice with Pumpkin. It's sort of okay if you've got enough summons. I really hate the prospect of losing the game when the opponent has Angries. And it does feel like a lot of the time you're losing the game because this treasure is your treasure and not, like, literally anything else. Like, literally because it isn't 2 gold. You're losing the game.
Okay, so where are you putting it?
Probably like C, maybe D.
I love how negative your description is, and it's like C, maybe D.
Because it is impactful when it's good.
It's so good. It's a sick treasure.
It's good at like blowing up court wizards before good boys go off.
Mittens like so like Mittens at worst trades for Drac Saber.
Kinda.
Like, you don't give a shit about the attack if you're playing any sort of like Mittens build.
Usually.
Like, I feel like dwarves are shitty enough and scammable anyway enough, and the 0 attack apple tree synergy is like insane. That like Mittens is pretty strong.
The 0 attack apple tree synergy is the reason why I'd want to put it in C instead of F. Like that is the reason this treasure is good.
I would put it in B, solidly.
The main issue that I have with it is whenever I have a Mittens, I'd always kind of wish that it was just an Ancient Sark. It just feels less scammable.
Like, it does the apple tree thing. It pairs really well with Ancient Sark.
It does pair well with Ancient Sark if you're already doing it, but like I'd rather have the Sark before the Mittens.
Image. A lot of backlines are just dead to Mittens.
You're not wrong. I don't know, it's really easy to focus on the times where the Mittens is bad and just not want to pick it because of that. Like, it only takes, I don't know. I've lost
Yeah,
so many
what-
games to the opponent having like 2
transition
angries.
Anti-mittens comp.
Like if you're scouting your opponents, if you have an idea that you're going evil, like you should be tracking who's indoors.
Well, of course.
And if no one's indoors, it's just a good treasure.
No, I agree with that. Like, no one's pivoting into dwarves later on in the game. But, like, it just takes one person indoors to ruin your whole day.
It just takes one person indoors to lose to like a magic sword doom breath, and then you're still fine.
Yeah, but if you have Magic Sword Doom Breath, you don't need Mittens. You're already
Still,
winning.
it's
You're
without
killing 3 of their
players.
units immediately.
I don't know.
There's a lot of good treasures in 5.
Like, I guess you could make that argument and say maybe it's just not that powerful, but I think you're trolling by putting it in D.
When it's good, it
Mittens
is
is
that
sitting just
powerful
from
is the
power level.
thing. It's so
Yeah.
good with Apple Tree.
I think you're trolling by, like, putting it below average. Like, there are a lot of situations where this is just correct to take, and you're very excited to see it.
But, like, below average relative to other 5s isn't that bad. Like, look at these. I don't... Okay, fine. I think you bullied me
I
into
don't
it.
know.
I'll,
There are some pretty bad ones. I can name at least 3 that are solidly worse than Mittens. I don't think your D and F are going to be unpopulated.
Yeah, I agree. Next up,
Probably 4.
we got Hand of Midas. This is a weird one with Ambrosia in the same tier. Next time you buy a character, upgrade it and destroy this. So the improvement of Hand of Midas over Ambrosia is that you don't have to keep that treasure slot occupied, and you can immediately take an upgrade, and then you have that upgrade for the rest of the game and don't have to worry about replacing that treasure or not later on. The downside is you're often going to have to roll shops to try to find the thing that you want to have upgraded, because you're often going to take this without the thing you want to upgrade in the shop. And yeah, it can lead to some really awkward shops. You end up dying with a Hand of Midas more often than I want to admit. Just like trying to find a direction unit upgraded that I just never hit and die. This is like, it's very close to Ambrosia for me. They both have their upsides and downsides.
I don't think it's close to Ambrosia. I think it's better than Ambrosia, like, significantly. I would, like, ignoring the times when I'm a Papega and the shop units are glowy because there's 2 of the same ones, and then I buy one and then it gets Midas. Like,
I'm not even counting that. I just feel like all the times where you're just looking for any kind of
if this
direction.
game had better UI, this treasure would be solidly A tier. It is so good on early 6. Like, if you get it
So is
like,
Ambrosia.
right as you're buying your first... No, but like, you get it and then you get another treasure.
Yeah, but then
And
you...
it doesn't have to go in the Ambrosia slot. You can find a good
Sure.
boy, and then you have an upgraded
Yeah,
good
it's
boy.
great if you're going good boy for sure.
You can find a pumpkin, and then it's a permanent Ambrosia. You can find, like, any tree, and you're happy.
Yeah, the issue is just like needing to find it in the order. Where with Ambrosia, you can already have the thing. You don't need to roll and try to find the thing.
But, like,
When you want to upgrade the thing, you can still like you're still pretty. I feel like that situation, Ambrosia and Midas are a lot closer together, and in a lot of those situations, I'd still rather have a Midas because I could just find a new unit that's like close enough in quality, and then upgrade it, and then put it wherever I want.
The other downside of Midas is that when you Midas a unit, you can't use that towards a level 6 treasure later on. Like, if you take Pumpkin into an Ambrosia and you pick up another Pumpkin, then you have an upgraded Pumpkin and an unupgraded Pumpkin that you're happy to have both of them in play, but they're still ready to combine into another Pumpkin to get you, like, your Singing Sword or your Magic Sword later on. Where if you're just Midasing, it's going to be taking you longer to get that level 6 treasure.
Like a little bit.
Quite a
But
bit.
like you is that real?
I think that's significant with Evil, especially. Like,
can get
you're
the
really
tre-
dependent
you
on
can
finding
get like it's only one unit slower,
and that treasure is going to be replacing your Ambrosia.
Yeah, probably. Maybe. I mean, there's times where you have, like, 2 treasures and you're looking for a third.
Like, Midas is buying you more tempo in a lot of situations, and then it's also just you'll eventually get the treasures, and then you have a nice empty slot for the treasure.
I don't know that it's buying you more tempo necessarily. I think a lot of the time Ambrosia taking effect immediately is going to buy you more tempo. Like, how often do you pick up a Hand of Midas with all of your gold and you can't spend it until next turn?
Not very. I'm usually willing to dump it on, like, most 6s. Like, I would dump it on Herc, I would dump it on Green Knight.
I mean, you just
I would
spend your
dump
last
it
5 gold
like-
on a Sea Terror. And then you have a Midas lying around instead of an Ambrosia that's taking effect next combat. Like, it's worse tempo. It's better in the long run, generally.
I mean, I feel like you're sort of conflating scenarios here. Because, like, the only way for it to really be worse like...
Are we saying that we have the 6 already?
We could have the 6 already. Yeah, that's one of the things Ambrosia does well. If you already have the 6, Ambrosia takes effect. Like, you have your upgraded 6. You don't need to pick them out of order. Or in a certain order.
I don't know. It seems rather, like... It seems like a rather specific scenario to already have the 6, and then have a 6, like one of the few 6s that works well with Ambrosia, as opposed to Midas being better when you don't have a 6, and Midas being better
When you need to open up slots for treasures.
I think both of them come up. Like, the upsides of both of them come up about equal. Like, there's a lot of times where I pick Ambrosia over Midas, and there's a lot of times I pick Midas over Ambrosia. It just depends on what's going on the board, what I already have, what I'm looking to get into.
I incredibly rarely pick Ambrosia over Midas. It's like pretty exclusively dwarfs.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put it above Ambrosia in B tier, but I think they're very close. I take them about a similar amount. They do sort of similar things, though they both have their... I think it's the first one we, like, really strongly disagree on.
I mean, Mittens. Chad is claiming I bullied you into putting Mittens in C tier.
I mean, it's between C and D. That's not a huge difference. But I feel like you're advocating for, like, Midas and A.
Yeah.
I guess
think
it's also
Midas
not a
is
huge
one of the
difference.
best 5s.
Yeah.
I think looking at this list, I would put it as like the 3rd or 4th best 5.
We'll see how this shapes up. Next up we got Harvest Moon. Your characters with Slay attack twice. Do we need another Slay tier? Harvest Moon is so fun when it works. But I feel
Harvest
like
Moon is really weird.
Yeah, I just feel like
The worst part is that we can't even have a Slay tier, because there's definitely at least one 5 that is like Harvest Moon tier in terms of impact.
I mean, when Harvest Moon is good, it's pretty gross. Like on Sadrak, making your Shadow Assassins attack twice is game-winning.
I like that. Honestly, I think Harvest Moon might be able to escape F tier, just because it is kind of vaguely something you can spec into, and you see other people doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I've lost my fair share of games to Harvest Moon. Like, even like Harvest Moon Lancelot stuff, when the Lancelot gets big enough, is kind of scary.
Like, I think it has to be below average, but like...
Just off of pick rate, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people that really like the River Wish scam comps, and Harvest Moon enables those. Like, this is a build-enabling treasure, too.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's really powerful, but I would think it would just have to go in D, because there's, like, so many times where it's, like, just awkward to pick. And then sometimes it's still bait. Like, even when you have the health and the flexibility.
Yeah, I went through a week...
It's not like Harvest Moon comps on your average leader are, like, always winning games or whatever.
Yeah, I went through a week of, like, trying to force River Wish Medusas just to see how the comp worked, and I think I lost every game that I went for it. Just, like, something bad would happen to my River Wish, and, like,
I've
comp
never
would fall
seen
apart.
it work outside of Drac.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. But yeah, probably, like, S tier on Drac, but on everyone else.
Yeah.
Helm
very
of the
good on
Ugly
Drac.
Gosling. Start of the Brawl, give your lowest character plus 15, plus 15. This is one of those that's really good before, like, if you're getting it early, this can swing a lot of fights. Plus 15 attack on, like, your Sporko or even your Lady of the Lake generally means you're going to be winning fights up until level 6. People start getting, like, real comps online. But it falls off pretty fast if you're not specifically in Good Boy.
I throw it solidly in D.
Solidly in D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good in its window, and it's bad outside of its window. I don't know if that makes it bad, or if it just makes it...
I feel like it's ever that good in its window. Like, especially compared to some of the other stat treasures. Like, you need the ranged unit, which, I mean, it's not necessarily, like,
It's
an
pretty easy.
impossible, like, sure, it's easy, but it's sometimes costing you some of the stats.
A lot of
It's
comps
like-
really want to have a Sporko, but just don't want to play a 1/4. And Helm lets you pretty
Yeah.
happily play the Sporko. Like any token
feel
comp.
like I just feel like if it's actually early enough that Helm is swinging fights, you could pick most of these other 5s and do something more impactful.
Yeah, you'd almost rather always
Like-
pick Monkey Paw, at least.
You would always pick Monkey Paw. I think you would always pick Saber. I think in a
Yeah,
lot of these
that's fair.
situations you would pick Ambrosia or Midas. I think early on, like, you'd probably pick Mittens if you've scouted.
Well, the thing is, early on, there's going to be some players on Dwarves in the lobby. Like, almost every lobby has someone going Dwarves. And if you're picking Mittens when there's, like, 7 people alive, you're taking that risk, regardless of whether you've scouted.
I just remember being forced. The last time I played this treasure, I was forced to take it in Dwarves because the other 5s just did nothing.
Mm.
I just remember using it on a 1-1 doubly and being miserable.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of boards that it's not great on. And I guess it is usually just, like, you're offered Summoning Portal, Mimic, and Gosling, and you don't have any other treasures going on, so you take the Gosling, so it's way better than skipping, but...
If
There-
I was
there
offered
were
that
always-
pack, I would probably take the Mimic.
I mean, it depends what you have.
I think it was worse than that.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll put it above Harvest Moon, but... I just feel like the pick rate on it is too high because of how niche some of these are. To...
It's definitely possible that I'm not looking for the opportunities to play it enough, but I just...
Yeah, the reason to put it here is
feels
that
like
it's never the treasure you want. It's always a
Yeah.
backup. Next up, Horn of Olympus. Your supports affect all of your front row characters. I really don't like playing more than like one support unit if I don't have to. I guess like trees like this a lot. If you've got Green Knights. It's sort of nice with Grumblegore, but it makes your board kind of fall apart if your Grumblegore gets sniped in your evil comp. It's great with Slay comps.
this has gotta be at worst a C tier treasure. I think it's like in the comps it's good, it's so good. And like even as a stat treasure, I feel like a lot of times I would pick like a horn over a helm. With just like random stuff laying around on my board.
If I already have the level 6 supports, I'm picking Horn over Helm, sure. I mean, it kind of depends. Sometimes Helm lets you get out of the support, too. Like, you're playing a Grumblegore to try to boost up your Doom Breath, but Helm will boost up your Doom Breath anyway, so you don't need to play the Grumblegore anymore. And I'd usually rather remove the Grumblegore than pick a Horn.
It's kind of an interesting idea.
Like, I want to put this below Helm.
I mean, I definitely don't think, like, I think if Horn was confined to Grumblegore, I would probably agree with you. It's probably, like, around Gosling tier.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
I feel like that's just dismissing...
It's
like,
better in trees.
Like, there are so many heroes this is just, like, S tier on. Like, it's
Yeah.
a lot better in trees. In trees, it's very solid if you can get it early enough.
For sure.
But, like, you get it on, like, a Trophy Hunter or, like, a Drac, it's pretty gross.
Yeah, there are definitely some comps where you're rolling 5s specifically to get Horn of Olympus.
It's like a Harvest Moon that's also a real treasure, which I think like should net at a tier above Harvest Moon at the very least. It has a lot more use cases.
Yeah. I guess I might be a little biased just because of how often that I used to be in like Grumblegore Doom Breath comps, and how often that I would just take Gosling over Horn, but...
You definitely do take some sad horns, but I feel like every Gosling you take is a sad Gosling.
I mean, kinda.
Horn is like sometimes like poggers.
Yeah. I can buy it. I'm definitely more excited to take Horn in the games where Horn is good than I am excited to take Gosling in the games where Gosling feels good. Okay. I buy it. Mimic. Double the abilities of your other treasures. Speaking of hard treasures to evaluate, what the fuck? Mimic can be the nuts. Mimic
I
also...
think Mimic is the nuts. I would put it in S.
You would put it in S.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, the things that it's nuts with, it's usually redundant with Magic Sword, right? We agree there?
Yeah.
It's good with Singing Sword.
Yep.
It's great with Fool's Gold.
Yep.
It's great with Monkey Paw.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's good enough with Monkey Paw to make you want to stay in Monkey Paw all game. I'm not sure how relevant that is, because you can replace the Monkey
Depends a
Paw with
lot
like,
on
Singing
your
Sword.
comp.
Yeah.
There are definitely comps where you would stay in it in all game. There are definitely comps where you try to pivot.
take a look at the treasures.
Ivory Owl is the best one. You left that one out.
Ivory Owl is a very good one, yeah. It's pretty nice with Spear of Achilles.
There are a lot of, like, there are also just a lot of treasures that make Mimic, like, on curve totally fine, that you can pick up early. Like double Sings, double Sark,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Double Hat, even.
When Mimic's good, Mimic is insane. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
I've just noticed that I spec on Mimic a lot more than you. Like, I've taken a lot of just empty Mimics when I'm at higher health.
Yeah, I usually prefer taking something that'll give me tempo rather than Mimic if I've got nothing going on. And I just feel like I've got nothing going on a little bit too much. But maybe there are just enough things that you can hit later on that it's worth specking on. It's good with treasure map even. So I guess that's never coming up.
That's usually not coming up. It can also sometimes be one more out if you're going like hat ball stuff.
Yeah, it
Which-
kind of replaces the forking rod and giving you more treasure looks by doubling crystal ball.
Yeah.
Weird interaction, but
It's definitely jankier than forking rod, but it can work.
yeah, like instead of getting double casts, you just get double looks instead. It's like half as good. Though reducing costs by additional time can matter.
It's like weird because it does require you to be doing somewhat well to have like other good treasures.
Yeah.
Like that's the argument against it, right?
I
Is
definitely
that-
wouldn't call it win more though, because
Yeah,
like you're not winning
no,
the game if you have a monkey paw or if you have a singing sword. But
for sure. It's not win more, but
it does
it's
put you
like
at the top.
it's usually not like actively turning like a losing game into a winning game like super easily.
Yeah.
But
it's
like
like the
it can. It like totally can.
ideally it's
right
like the final treasure
situation.
that you add. It's that cornerstone to the comp that like completes everything. You already have the singing sword, you already have your ivory owl or whatever, and you just want like one more big push. And Mimic is that big push. I think because it doesn't like
The fact
stabilize.
that Fool's Gold exists makes it
Yeah.
so much stronger.
Yeah, for sure. I want to put it A instead of S, but I
Yeah.
see the arguments. I think it
I
only
think you can make a case for A.
yeah. If it was better when you weren't like already at least in a good spot, the top 4, I think I'd agree with S. But yeah, I think it just depends how much you value the difference between getting third and getting first.
Yeah, definitely.
Monkey Paw. Your characters have +6/+6 if you started with less than 7 characters. This is another one that's
Oh, boy.
really weird. There's parts of the game where this is S tier, but you rarely want to stay in it for the last brawls. Like, there are times you can get by winning the game with a Monkey's Paw in play. But a lot of the time you're going to be wanting to pivot out of the Monkey Paw at some point. That said, early Monkey Paw is the easiest road to top 3 locking up, right?
Yeah,
Is that enough to put it in S?
that's a good question. Honestly, I'm surprised you rate it so highly. I thought you rated it lower.
Oh, no,
But,
I rarely pass on Monkey's Paws.
Monkey Paw is great for sure. I thought it was more A. Like there are definitely. It feels like by the time a lot of times by the times you're pairing the ends, a lot of times you're on 6 already, and by then it's kind of just like, do I want a Monkey's Paw?
Monkey's Paw is a lot
Yeah.
of the time the reason I'm okay with treasure mapping level 3 units. Just to get a 5.
Yeah, I mean I would agree with that. Like most of these other 5s are not that amazing to like cheat a quick map on.
Yeah,
Like-
chat saying it brings you to top 4, but it's difficult to get a win with it. Yeah, but it buys you so much time that you can...
I disagree that it's difficult to get a win with it. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you're literally staying in it all game and
Exactly.
you're not a comp that wants to stay in it all game, and you could be a comp that wants to stay in it all game.
Yeah, if
Like,
you want to
you're
get out of
pumpkin
it...
or bear sting, you can literally win with this treasure on your board.
Yeah, for
Aside
sure.
from the fact that you have a bear sting on your board, but that's a different issue.
Yeah. It buys you so much time to plan for the long term and not have to worry about tempo because of the +6/+6 to your team that it does make winning a lot easier too. But you just got to know that you're looking to get out of it at some point if you're looking to get out
To
of it.
me, this is just like the most obvious A. I think between Mimic and Paw, I'd be more likely to put Mimic in S tier, even though Paw is the one that can stabilize you earlier. It feels like you get more positions where Mimic is the nuts than when Paul is the nuts, because you have to high roll for Paw to like really be the nuts. Like you need to be like Mice Horde Dragon, or you need to be like Treasure Map of 3, or you need to be like Runestone's Waddle. Like it's pretty hard to like really cheat Monkey Paw.
Yeah.
And I feel like Mimic, like, it's not that infeasible. Like, if you're cheating a 6, which is, I would say, is maybe a more meta play. Like, a lot of times your treasure map ends up on, like, a Nutcracker or something like that, and then you find, like, an Ivory Owl, and then you, like, mimic it, and then it's game over.
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, much less time-sensitive. Like,
it is funny how...
the game pretty much no matter when you do it.
It's funny how that's the opposite problem of Mimic. Where Mimic is good when you already have something going on, Monkey's Paw gets worse as you have more going on.
Yeah, generally. Unless it's Mimic.
Does play very nice with Mimic. I'll put it in A tier above Mimic, but we'll see how this shapes up.
Sure.
Next up, we got Staff of the Old Toad. Level 2 and 3 characters no longer appear in your shop. We're both really high on these econ treasures, right? I like
the econ treasures a lot. However, I do think that Staff is worse than Fool's Gold by a pretty measurable amount.
Yeah, I haven't done the math. I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
The math is really hard to do because, first of all, there's a question of are there any hits on 2 or 3? That obviously nerfs this significantly. Like,
yeah,
in
it depends
Boris,
what
for
you're
example,
in.
you'll want doublies.
Yeah.
But then furthermore, it also depends how many 6 hits you can have. I think in general, like, the fewer 6... What's really weird is that I usually consider this to be like an insane dwarf treasure, except that it blocks doublies.
Yeah.
I'm usually still very, very happy to get it on dwarves, but generally the fewer hits there are, the more value you're getting out of this. And if you have other econ treasures, this multiplies with it, which is really nice. Like, if you have more than 12 gold, this treasure becomes so much better than if you're stuck on 12. Like, a big problem with Staff is a lot of times you end up buying a unit per turn that's, like, relevant if you're stuck on only 12 gold, just because you're not likely to see 2 things that you want to hit in the same shop or, like, 1 or 2 shops apart. And then you can't buy the other unit. I think I would put it at the top of B. I don't think it's Paw or Mimic tier.
Huh. So are we saying Paw Mimic or
you
just basically
have, like, it's also a 0 impact treasure, right? It's something you take to try to win more when you're winning. And I think generally Mimic is better at doing that.
Well, it also just like turns your life buffer. Like if you're going into level 6 and you have like 30 life, I'm taking Staff every time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It just gets a comp together better than anything else.
There are definitely times where Staff is better than both Paw and Mimic. And that time is like right as you're hitting 5 or 6, before Mimic is really online for you.
Yeah.
Like, early Toad, when you're like already winning, is pretty great. A lot of times it is the second most exciting thing to hit after Monkey Paw if you're cheating a 5 early.
Yeah.
You could argue it as bottom of A. I don't think you can argue for it being better than Paw or Mimic. I guess it is notably... I do take it notably more than, like, the Bs.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Midas.
I'm more excited to take...
begrudgingly calling B.
I'm more excited to take Staff than most of these. I don't know, do we just, like, move everything up a tier and do, like...
I don't know.
Like, this feels kind of janky,
like,
too.
No. Like, you could maybe go... You could maybe do Mittens B, Horn C, and then leave the other 2 in D. I think you could argue for. And then bump Ambrosia down to B. That would almost be my list. Other than maybe the Drax Saber positioning being so high. But like Drax Saber definitely can be really good.
I could honestly see doing like this.
Yeah, that might be true too.
I do think Midas and Ambrosia are really close. I think you're undervaluing Ambrosia a little bit.
It could be. I do really hate the Ambrosia pivot. I'm a very greedy player.
Yeah.
So, and the reason, like, from that perspective.
And the reason we're reorganizing this now is because I think the last 3 are way less exciting than the ones that we have on the board already. Summoning Portal, when you summon a character, give it +1/+1 for each character you summon this Brawl. So pretty good with Bearstein, pretty good with Pumpkin.
F tier.
Yeah, I'm almost never specking on it. I mean, when you're in those comps already, it's better than the other stat treasures. Like, you do begrudgingly take it a lot. But...
Nope. No, I don't. It doesn't exist.
It's really bad. It's so bad.
Even in the situations where it can be good, you're just asking to get screwed more by like combat spells. Or,
yeah,
like,
when your pumpkin
attacks.
gets sniped, now you like don't have a comp
Like,
going.
the most stats are on your last summons, so if anything goes wrong, you're losing like the lion's share of your stats. And there are so many comps where this is just a blink.
This takes
that's
effect
at 5.
before the Bearstein doubling, right? Surely?
Yeah, it does, I think. But like, you have to be Bearstein.
Yeah.
And like, Bearstein can't run that many summons. Pumpkin's actually got a lot more summons.
That's true. You've got what, like Baby Bear and
You have
maybe a couple
like,
of
you'll
Big
maybe
Pigs?
have like, if you're being generous, you might have 2 baby bears and 3 big pigs. And if you have that, it's actually pretty good. But like, by the time you can get all of that in Bearstein, you could have a real treasure. I guess it is at least a use case. A use case might be enough to argue for it not being F tier, but like, come on, it's a
when
5.
it's good, it's
None
worse
of
than
these
when
5s don't have a use case.
yeah.
We're calling Harvest Moon D tier, and it has a
Exactly.
far more substantial use case.
Yeah.
Like, Summoning Portal at
okay.
its best is maybe like a B tier treasure if you're like engineering the perfect Summoning Portal Timmy board, which is probably compensating in power in order to do that. You're probably like not running an Echo Wood or a Soul Tack to save you from getting Doom Breath scammed.
Yeah, it makes already scammable comps a little bit more scammable. That's a big argument against it too. Yeah, I mean, I was between D and F, so I guess I'm willing to go down to F on it. Sword of Fire and Ice. Characters in your front row have +5 health, characters in your back row have +5 attack. So it plays nice with ranged supports. Doesn't play as nice with tokens as you would kind of hope. 5 health on your tokens just isn't usually the type of stats that you're looking to add, which makes it kind of a weird static boost treasure.
It's kind of weird, but I like curving it more than Gosling.
Yeah, between the two, I'll usually take it over Gosling, but it really just depends what I'm in and what I'm trying to do. Like, if I'm going for Good Boy, I'd much rather have Gosling.
I feel like this treasure does its job, and like kind of just does its job. I guess Good Boy Gosling is kind of an argument. That's a thing you can do. There's also like Ash, like that. Like if you're going like trees, I think the sword plays a lot better. But I guess if
yeah.
you're going trees, it doesn't matter.
If
as
you're
much
going
which one you take.
trees, Gosling gives your Doom Breath attack.
Yeah, it's true. You could go Doom Breath with it.
I kind of want
Maybe
to.
I underrate Gosling.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to do this.
I could see both of them being C.
These are
honestly.
really close. Yeah, I don't want to put them
Yeah.
a tier apart, but I don't know which one I even
Gosling's
take.
probably the treasure here. I most likely do genuinely underrate.
Yeah.
I don't actually think I underrate Ambrosia, but I could see underrating Gosling.
Yeah. And then lastly, we've got Tree of Life. When one of your characters dies, fully heal your other characters.
Where would you put this?
My heart wants to put it in F. I lose to it a lot. I never take it. Which usually is a combination that I'm undervaluing it. But I feel like every time I take it, it's irrelevant too.
There's a combo where it does, like, there's a world where it does something, which is more than you can say about Summoning Portal.
That's true.
So I would put it.
It's a really solid tech.
Moon.
If you're in like chunky comp, it does win
I have
against
more
like
respect
evils.
for Harvest Moon than Tree of Life, but there are worlds where it does something.
Yeah, like if I'm in Dwarves, I take it over a stat treasure usually.
Yeah, I could see it.
I'm just like in something that has a lot of health. Tree of Life can save you.
Yeah. I never like it because it just feels like even in Dwarves, your lose con is just running into one of the many comps that kill your Dwarves in one hit.
Yeah.
It feels like the only thing you can try to do with it is maybe like beat people down a little more, or like maybe in a close fight somehow you need the healing.
It is really annoying to go against Tree of Life as a lot of pumpkin comps.
Yeah, it really is. Like, as a tech, it is a valid tech option, sort of.
Like, honestly, pumpkin being one of, if not, like, the best late game comp to go for makes me want to put it... I mean, I guess D, but I don't really want to put it in C.
I don't want to put it in C. I really don't.
I think that's the only reason that it's even in D.
I don't think you want to finish that sentence. Tree has ways of being frustrating, but I feel like it's much more frustrating to play it than play against it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the kind of thing, like, you're happy to pick it when you know it's going to be relevant, but it feels weird to speculate on it. A lot of time you pick it is better than 2 golds, too, but... Just like you're in a comp where the rest of these don't matter.
The nice thing about most of these 5s is that all of them besides Summoning Portal and sometimes Harvest Moon are probably worth 2 gold.
Yeah, I pretty rarely skip level 5 treasures. Unless I've already got other treasures going. Like, it's almost never just 2 gold that I'm willing to take over one of these. I guess sometimes you see, like, Horn of Olympus, Harvest Moon, Summoning Portal, and you're not running any supports and don't expect to be, and then maybe, but even then. Okay, well, I guess that's the level 5 treasures. It has been fun. I guess let's get back to ladder. Thanks for joining me, Redrame. Maybe we'll knock out the levels, probably level 6s and level 7s next time, because I think there's not that many level 6s.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, see you later. That was Redrame. You can check him out at twitch.tv/Redrame. He streams from time to time. I think he was